Captain Tejo stood in the small bridge of Soul's Pride, looking at the star map on his main screen. His ship was not pretty or new. It was old, patched in many places, and made strange noises when it flew too fast. But it was his ship, and it had never let him down. Tejo was a human, which made him unusual in this part of the galaxy. Most aliens avoided humans, thinking they were too violent and unpredictable. Tejo did not mind. He had been a soldier once, fighting for Earth, in the early days when humans first started exploring space. Now he was a trader, moving cargo from one system to another and trying to stay out of trouble. He had gray hair and scars on his face from old battles. His clothes were simple and practical. He did not look like much, but anyone who had fought alongside humans knew better than to judge by appearance. "Bora, how are those engines doing?" he called to the back of the ship. "Still working," came the reply. Bora was his engineer, and she was the only person he trusted to keep Soul's Pride flying. She was younger than Tejo, with short black hair and hands that were always dirty from working on machines. She could fix anything that broke and make improvements that should not have been possible. Bora crawled out from under a panel, wiping oil from her hands. "The engines are running hot, but they will hold. Are we really going to fight those big alien ships?" "We are going to try to save people," Tejo said. "If we have to fight, then we fight." Dongsu walked onto the bridge carrying a medical kit. He was the ship's doctor, but he had also been a soldier. He was quiet most of the time, but Tejo had seen him work under pressure. Dongsu could save lives in situations that would kill most people from stress alone. "I have been reading about the species on that research station," Dongsu said. "Most of them have never seen real violence. They will not know how to handle this." Tejo nodded. "Then we teach them." The three humans had been working together for 5 years. They were not the biggest crew or the strongest ship, but they got jobs done. Other species often hired humans for dangerous work because humans did not know when to quit. "Tell me about these attackers," Tejo said, looking at the data they had received from Nexus Prime. Bora pulled up information on her screen. "Unknown species. Ships are biological, not mechanical. They seem to absorb energy from the things they attack. The research station called them devourers because they eat everything they find." "How many ships?" 47 large vessels plus smaller fighters. Dongsu whistled softly. "And we are one small cargo ship." "We are one small cargo ship with humans on it," Tejo corrected. "That makes a difference. Soul's Pride was not built for fighting. It was designed to carry cargo and avoid trouble. But Bora had made some changes over the years. The engines were faster than they should be. The hull was stronger than the original design. The cargo bays could be sealed separately, which was useful for more than just keeping different types of cargo apart." "How long until we get there?" Tejo asked. 10 hours if we push the engines," Bora said. 8 hours if we push them hard enough to maybe explode." 8 hours then. Bora grinned. She loved making things work harder than they were supposed. "Tourism, I will need to reroute power from life support." "We can hold our breath," Tejo said. This was normal for humans. Other species planned carefully and made sure everything was safe before they acted. Humans looked at the situation, figured out what needed to be done, and worried about safety later. Dongsu was checking his medical supplies. "I have basic supplies for human injuries, but I do not know much about alien biology. If we save anyone, I might have to learn as I go." "You will figure it out," Tejo said. He had complete faith in his crew. As Soul's Pride flew toward the battle, Tejo thought about what they were going to do. The smart thing would be to stay away. One ship could not fight 47 enemy vessels and win. But the people on that research station had asked for help, and no one else was coming. Humans had a reputation in the galaxy. Some species thought they were crazy because they took risks that no sane being would take. Others thought they were heroes because they helped people even when it was dangerous. Tejo did not care what others thought. He just knew that people needed help, and he could provide it. "I have been thinking about this fight," Bora said, still working on the engines. "Those alien ships are big and strong, but they might be slow. If we move fast enough, we might be able to get to the station before they can stop us. And then what? Dong-su asked. Then we load as many people as we can and run away very quickly. It was a simple plan, but simple plans often worked better than complicated ones. Humans were good at simple plans that required doing dangerous things without thinking too much about them. Taeho opened a communication channel to Nexus Prime. Nexus Prime, this is Soul's Pride. How are you holding up? The reply came from Commander Velthari, but her voice sounded tired and scared. Soul's Pride, we have sealed ourselves into the central section of the station. The attackers have boarded us, but they seem to be taking their time. I think they are studying us before they kill us. How many people do you have with you? 312 in the safe area. We do not know how many others are still alive in other parts of the station. Taeho looked at his cargo hold. Soul's Pride could carry maybe 50 people safely. 300 would be almost impossible. We will make it work, he said. Captain, Velthari said, I must ask, why are you doing this? You do not know us, and this is very dangerous. Taeho thought about the question. Why was he risking his ship and his crew for aliens he had never met? The answer was simple, even if it was hard to explain. Because you asked for help, he said. There was silence on the communication channel for a moment. Then Velthari spoke again, and her voice sounded different. We have heard stories about humans. Some say you are violent and dangerous. We are, Taeho said. But we are violent and dangerous to people who hurt others. You are scientists trying to make the galaxy better. That makes you worth protecting. More silence. Then, thank you, Captain Taeho. Soul's Pride flew through space toward the battle zone. The ship's engines were working harder than they ever had before, and the hull was shaking from the stress. But the ship held together, the way human machines always seem to when they were needed most. Contact in 2 hours, Bora announced. I can see the battle on long-range sensors. The research station is dark, but it is still in one piece. The alien ships are surrounding it like they are guarding it. They want something from it, Dong-su said. Otherwise, they would have just destroyed it. Taeho nodded. That gives us a chance. If they want the station intact, they might not shoot at us if we get close enough to it. Or they might shoot at us because we are interfering, Bora pointed out. Only one way to find out. This was how humans approached problems. They made their best guess about what would work, and then they tried it. If it did not work, they tried something else. Other species wanted to study a problem until they understood it completely. Humans preferred to learn by doing. 1 hour out, Bora reported. I can see the alien ships clearly now. They are definitely biological. They look like something that should be swimming in an ocean, not flying through space. Any idea what weapons they have? Energy drain weapons mostly. They seem to suck power out of whatever they hit. That is why the research station's shields failed so quickly. Taeho smiled grimly. Good thing we are planning to get close fast instead of fighting at long range. Soul's Pride approached the battle zone, and now they could see Nexus Prime clearly. The beautiful research station was dark and lifeless. The alien ships around it pulsed with strange lights like deep-sea creatures that glowed in the dark. This is it, Taeho announced. Everyone ready? Engines ready, Bora said. Medical supplies ready, Dong-su added. Then let's go save some people. Soul's Pride accelerated toward the enemy fleet, 3 humans racing to rescue aliens they had never met because someone had asked for help and no one else was coming. Commander Velthari stood in the main control room of Nexus Prime, her 4 blue arms moving across different control panels at the same time. The space station was huge, floating in the darkness around a giant gas planet. 10,000 beings from 12 different alien races lived and worked here. They were the smartest minds in the galaxy, all working together to create new technology that could change how everyone traveled through space. The station looked like a giant metal flower, with 7 arms reaching out from the center. Each arm had different research areas. Some worked on faster engines, others tried to make better shields, and some even worked on ways to talk to alien minds without words. The center of the station had living areas, shops, and places where Different species could meet and share ideas. Velthari was an Etherian. Her people had smooth blue skin that you could almost see through, and they could read thoughts if they tried hard enough. Most Etherians were peaceful and spent their time thinking about big questions. They did not like to fight, and they were not very good at it either. Velthari had been chosen to run Nexus Prime because she was good at helping different species work together. Dr. Kickstal walked into the control room, his crystal body making soft ringing sounds with each step. He was a Zephyrian, and his people were made of living diamond. They were very smart and could live for thousands of years. Kickstal had been working on a new type of engine that could make ships move faster than anything built before. "The tests are going well," Kickstal said, his voice sounding like wind chimes. "We should be able to finish the prototype next month." Engineer Mordun floated nearby in his special suit. His people were made of gas and lived in the space between stars. They had to wear special containers when they visited solid worlds or space stations. Mordun was working on shields that could stop any weapon. "My shield tests show we can stop anything the galaxy can throw at us," Mordun said, his voice coming through speakers in his suit. "Nothing should be able to break through our defenses." Velthari smiled with her small mouth. Everything was going perfectly. The research was ahead of schedule, and all the different species were working together without any major fights. She had heard that some stations had problems when different aliens tried to work together, but Nexus Prime was different. Everyone here wanted to make the galaxy a better place. That was when the alarm started screaming. Red lights flashed all over the control room. The main screen showed space around the station, and something was very wrong. Dark shapes were moving toward them from the empty space between stars. The shapes were big, bigger than any ships Velthari had ever seen. They looked like they were alive, with skin instead of metal and lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. "What are those?" Velthari asked, her forearms flying over the controls. Kickstal's crystal body started glowing brighter, which happened when he was scared. "I have never seen ships like those before. They are not in any of our databases." The computer started speaking in its calm voice. "Unknown vessels detected. Estimated number 47. Size extremely large. Technology unknown. Scanning. Warning. Scans are being blocked." Mordun's suit made worried beeping sounds. "They are moving fast. Faster than should be possible for ships that size." The unknown ships got closer, and now everyone could see them clearly on the screens. They looked like giant sea creatures with teeth and tentacles. Their skin was dark red and black, and strange lights moved under the surface like blood in veins. Some of the ships were longer than Nexus Prime itself. "Try to talk to them," Velthari said. Her voice was calm, but her hands were shaking. The communication officer, a bird-like alien with green feathers, tried to send messages in every language the station knew. "Unknown ships, this is Nexus Prime Research Station. We are peaceful. Scientists. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions." There was no answer. The unknown ships got closer and closer. When they were only a few minutes away, they finally answered. But it was not words. It was a sound like screaming and tearing metal that made everyone in the control room cover their ears. Then, the attack started. Beams of dark red energy shot from the alien ships and hit Nexus Prime's shields. The station's best defenses, the ones Mordun had said could stop anything, started failing immediately. The shield generators made loud grinding sounds as they tried to hold back the attacks. "Shields down to 70%, someone shouted. 60%. 50%. Velthari realized they were going to die. These aliens, whoever they were, had weapons that were much stronger than anything the station could defend against. All the smart people on Nexus Prime, all their amazing technology, and none of it mattered against these strange dark ships. "Send a distress signal," Velthari ordered. "Send it on all frequencies. Tell everyone we need help." The bird-like communication officer started sending the message. "This is Nexus Prime to any available military forces. We are under attack by unknown hostiles. Our defenses have failed. We have civilians aboard. Please, we need immediate military assistance." The shields kept getting weaker. 30%, 20%, 10%. The station shook as the alien weapons hit the hull directly. Lights went out in some sections, and the air recycling system started making sick whining sounds. Everyone in the control room was scared. These were some of the smartest beings in the galaxy, but they had spent their lives thinking and studying, not fighting. They did not know what to do when someone wanted to hurt them. "Are there any military ships nearby?" Velthari asked. The computer checked. "Negative. Nearest Confederation military vessel is 6 days away." 6 days. They would all be dead in 6 hours. The alien ships moved closer, and now everyone could see smaller creatures coming out of them. The creatures looked like a mix of insect and machine, with metal parts growing out of their bodies. They were heading for the docking bays. "They are going to board us," Kigstal said, his crystal voice full of fear. That was when a new voice came over the communication system. It was rough and spoke with an accent that none of them recognized. "Nexus Prime, this is Soul's Pride. We got your message. We are not military, but we are the closest ship to your position. We can be there in 12 hours, hold on." Velthari stared at the communication panel. Soul's Pride was not a name she knew, and the voice did not sound like any of the major galactic species. "Who are they?" she asked. The computer searched its databases. Soul's Pride is registered as a cargo vessel. Owner: Teho, species: human. Humans are from planet Earth classification, Class X Deathworld. Everyone in the control room went quiet. They had all heard of humans, but none of them had ever met one. Earth was famous throughout the galaxy as one of the most dangerous planets anyone had ever found. The stories said that everything on Earth was trying to kill everything else, and somehow intelligent life had evolved there anyway. Most species thought humans were violent and dangerous. There were stories of human soldiers who would keep fighting even after they should have died. Stories of human ships that would ram enemy vessels instead of surrendering. The Galactic Confederation had made contact with humans 50 years ago, but most aliens still avoided them. "A human ship?" Mordun whispered. "Are they coming to help us or to take advantage of us?" Velthari did not know. But as the alien boarders got closer and the shields failed completely, she realized that a dangerous human might be better than certain death from these unknown attackers. "Soul's Pride," she said into the communication system. "This is Commander Velthari of Nexus Prime. We accept your offer of assistance. Please hurry," the rough voice answered back. "On our way. Try to stay alive until we get there. Soul's Pride out." Outside the station, the dark alien ships moved into attack formation, ready to begin tearing Nexus Prime apart piece by piece. Inside the station, 10,000 of the galaxy's best and brightest minds prepared to meet their deaths. But somewhere in space, a small human cargo ship was burning its engines at maximum power, racing toward a fight that any sane species would avoid. Soul's Pride raced toward the alien fleet at a speed that should have torn the old cargo ship apart. Bora had pushed the engines past every safety limit, and the whole ship was shaking like it might come apart at any moment. But it held together, because sometimes human machines worked better when they were breaking. "Alien ships are noticing us," Bora reported from her position at the engineering station. "They are turning some of their weapons our way." Teho kept his hand steady on the controls. The enemy ships were huge, like floating cities made of dark red flesh and bone. Strange lights pulsed under their skin, and tentacles longer than Soul's Pride writhed in the vacuum of space. They looked like nightmares that had learned to fly. "How many are targeting us?" Teho asked. 3 ships. The others are still focused on the research station." That was good. 3 ships were still too many for Soul's Pride to fight, but it was better than 47. "They think we are just one small ship running away," Dongsu said, checking his medical equipment one more time. "They do not know we are coming to fight." "Good. Let them keep thinking that until it is too late." The first energy beams from the alien ships missed Soul's Pride by only a few meters. The beams were dark red, almost black, and they left empty holes in space where they passed. Teho had never seen weapons like that before. "Those beams eat energy," Bora said, reading her instruments. "If they hit us, they will drain our power systems." "Then we do not let them hit us." Teho threw Soul's Pride into a spinning dive that would have made most aliens sick. The ship twisted between the alien weapons, moving closer and closer to Nexus Prime. The research station looked dead, but its hull was still intact. There, Tejo pointed at a docking bay on the station's side. That one looks damaged, but still usable. The alien ships are between us and that docking bay, Bora pointed out. I know. Soul's Pride flew straight at the nearest alien ship. It was 10 times bigger than the human vessel, with skin that looked wet and teeth that were longer than cars. Smaller creatures crawled over its surface like parasites. At the last second, Tejo pulled the ship up and over the alien vessel, flying so close that Soul's Pride's hull scraped against the alien skin. Alarms went off as the two ships touched, but Soul's Pride kept flying. We just gave that thing some scratches, Bora said with a grin. I do not think it liked that. The alien ship tried to turn and follow them, but it was too big and slow. Soul's Pride was already past it, racing toward the research station's docking bay. Brace for impact, Tejo announced. Impact? Dongsu asked. Are we not going to slow down? No time. Soul's Pride hit the docking bay at full speed. The old cargo ship crashed through the damaged doors and slid across the metal floor in a shower of sparks. Parts of the ship's hull tore away, and one of the engines caught fire, but they were inside the station. Everyone alive? Tejo asked. Still breathing, Bora replied, pulling herself out from under a fallen panel. Medical kit is intact, Dongsu added, even though he was bleeding from a cut on his forehead. They had made it inside, but that was just the first part. Now they had to find the survivors and get them out alive. The docking bay was dark, except for emergency lighting that cast everything in red. The air smelled like burned metal and something else, something organic and wrong. In the distance, they could hear sounds that no research station should make, scratching, clicking, and wet sliding noises. The aliens are already inside, Dongsu said quietly. Tejo checked his weapon, an old military rifle that had seen better days. Then we better move fast. They left Soul's Pride and started moving through the station's corridors. The halls were too quiet, and their footsteps echoed in the emptiness. Most of the lights were out, and the few that still worked flickered like dying candles. The survivors said they were in the central section, Bora said, checking her scanner. That way. They moved carefully through the station, but they had not gone far when they encountered their first devourer creature. It was the size of a large dog, but it looked like a mixture of insect and machine. Its body was covered in chitinous plates, and metal parts grew out of its flesh like tumors. Red lights glowed where its eyes should be. The creature saw them, and made a sound like grinding gears mixed with an angry cat. Then it charged. Tejo shot it 3 times before it stopped moving. The bullets went through its body, but it kept coming until the last shot hit something important. Tough little things, he muttered. That noise will attract more of them, Dongsu warned. He was right. They could hear more creatures moving in the corridors around them, converging on their location. The scratching and clicking sounds were getting closer. This way, Bora said, leading them down a different corridor. I can get us to the central section through the maintenance tunnels. They climbed into the maintenance passages that ran between the station's walls. The tunnels were narrow and dark, barely big enough for humans to crawl through. They were lucky they were smaller than most galactic species. As they crawled through the tunnels, they could hear the devourer creatures searching for them in the corridors below. The aliens made frustrated noises when they could not find the humans. They are not very smart, Bora whispered. Smart enough to take over this station, Tejo replied. After 20 minutes of crawling, they reached the central section of Nexus Prime. Bora carefully opened a maintenance hatch, and they climbed out into a laboratory that was full of scared aliens. The first thing Tejo saw was Commander Velthari, the blue-skinned Etherian who had been talking to them on the radio. She had her forearms wrapped around a small crystalline being who was glowing with fear. Humans, she whispered, and every alien in the room turned to stare at them. Tejo had never seen so many different species in one place. There were beings, made of crystal, others that looked like birds with too many wings, and some that were just clouds of gas in special suits. They all looked terrified. We are here to help, Tejo announced. We need to get everyone to our ship. Your ship? asked Dr. Kixtall, the crystal being. How many people can it carry? Not enough, Tejo admitted, but we will make it work. This was very human thinking. When faced with an impossible situation, humans did not give up or look for perfect solutions. They found ways to make imperfect solutions work well enough. The creatures are in the corridors, Commander Velthari said. We have been trapped here for hours. Every time we try to leave, they attack us. Good thing we brought weapons, Dongsu said, checking his rifle. The aliens looked shocked. Most galactic species had given up personal weapons centuries ago. They solved problems with words and technology, not violence. But sometimes violence was the right tool for the job. We cannot fight our way out, Dr. Kixtall said. There are too many of them. We are not going to fight our way out, Tejo said. We are going to sneak our way out. But first we need to make some noise somewhere else. Bora understood immediately. She started working on a computer terminal, her fingers flying over the controls. I can overload some power systems in the other sections of the station. That should get their attention. Will that work? Commander Velthari asked. Probably, Bora said. If not, we try something else. The aliens were learning how humans thought. When something might work, humans tried it. If it did not work, they tried something different. They did not waste time trying to find perfect solutions. Bora finished her work, and explosions echoed through the station from several directions. Emergency alarms started wailing, and they could hear the devourer creatures moving away from the central section to investigate. Now we move, Tejo said. Getting 300 aliens through the station's corridors was not easy. Most of them had never been in danger before, and they wanted to move slowly and carefully. But Tejo kept them moving even when they were scared. Dongsu took care of the injured aliens, helping them walk and keeping them calm. You are doing great, he told a bird-like creature that was limping badly. Just a little farther, they made it halfway back to the docking bay before they ran into trouble. A group of devourer creatures was waiting for them in a wide corridor, blocking their path. These were bigger than the one they had fought before, and they had more metal parts grafted onto their bodies. Stay back, Tejo told the aliens. Then, he and Dongsu started shooting. The battle was short but intense. The devourer creatures were tough and fast, but they had never fought humans before. They expected prey that would run away or surrender. Instead, they got predators that fought back with everything they had. When the fighting was over, 3 alien creatures were dead, and Dongsu had a long scratch across his arm. Are you okay? One of the rescued aliens asked. Dongsu looked at the scratch and shrugged. I have had worse. This was normal for humans. What seemed like serious injuries to other species were just minor annoyances to people who had evolved on a world where everything was trying to kill them. They reached Soul's pride to find that more devourer creatures had discovered the ship. Bora dealt with them by turning on the engines while they were standing behind the ship. The blast of superheated gas scattered the creatures and cleared a path to the cargo bay. Everyone inside, Tejo shouted. The aliens poured into Soul's Pride's cargo hold, packing in far tighter than safety regulations would allow. Soul's Pride burst out of the research station with 300 aliens packed into a space meant for 50. The cargo hold was so crowded that some passengers had to hold onto the ceiling to make room for others. Emergency air recyclers were working at maximum capacity, and the life support systems were making sounds that worried even Bora. Everyone still breathing back there? Tejo called over the intercom. Barely, came Commander Velthari's reply. How long until we reach safety? Working on that. The problem was that Soul's Pride was now surrounded by 47 enemy ships, each one bigger than the human vessel. The Devourers had not expected anyone to rescue the research station's people, and they were not happy about it. They are all targeting us now, Bora reported from the engineering station. I count over 200 weapons pointed our way. Good thing we are small and fast, Tejo said, throwing the ship into a diving turn that made half the aliens in the cargo hold sick. The Devourer ships opened fire with their energy-draining weapons. Dark red beams cut through space where Soul's Pride had been a second before. Tejo kept the ship moving in patterns that no sane pilot would attempt, using the alien ship's size against them. They are too big to turn quickly, he explained. to his crew. If we stay close to their hulls, they cannot shoot us without hitting each other. This was typical human tactics. When faced with a bigger, stronger enemy, humans looked for ways to make size and strength into disadvantages. Soul's Pride skimmed along the surface of an alien ship, flying so close that the passengers could see strange growths and parasites moving on the creature's skin. The ship behind them tried to fire but held back because it would have hit its own ally. That was too close, Dongsu said, checking on the passengers. Many of them were injured from being thrown around during the violent maneuvers, but he was doing his best to help them while the ship kept moving. "How are you treating patients while we are flying like this?" Dr. Kickstall asked. The crystal being was wedged between two bird-like aliens and looked very uncomfortable. "Practice," Dongsu replied, wrapping a bandage around an injured arm while Soul's Pride rolled upside down to avoid another energy beam. "You learn to work in difficult conditions." In the cargo hold, the rescued aliens were getting their first real experience with human problem-solving. When the ship's artificial gravity failed during a particularly violent turn, Bora's solution was to tie everyone down with cargo straps. "This is not safe," protested Engineer Morden, his gas-filled suit bumping against other passengers. "Safe is not getting shot by alien death rays," Bora replied, securing another strap. "Everything else is just uncomfortable." The aliens were learning that humans had different ideas about what constituted an acceptable risk. Most galactic species would have surrendered rather than attempt an escape that had such a low chance of success. Humans saw a low chance of success as better than no chance at all. "I have an idea," Bora announced, studying the scanner readings. "Those alien ships drain energy from whatever they hit, right?" "Right," Taeho confirmed, spinning Soul's Pride around a massive tentacle that tried to grab them. "What if we gave them too much energy to drain?" "What do you mean?" Bora was already working on her idea, pulling panels off the wall and rerouting power cables. "I can overload our main power core and eject it. When those weapons hit it, they will get more energy than they can handle." Taeho understood immediately. "An energy feedback bomb." "Exactly, but we will only get one shot, and we will be flying on backup power afterward." "Do it." While Bora worked on her improvised weapon, Taeho continued flying evasive maneuvers through the alien fleet. Soul's Pride was getting hit by debris and energy overflow from the alien weapons, and the ship's hull was starting to show serious damage. "We cannot take much more of this," Dongsu reported. "The passengers are getting hurt and our life support is failing." "Almost ready," Bora called out. "I need 30 seconds. You have got them." Taeho pulled Soul's Pride into a steep climb, flying straight up relative to the alien fleet. The enemy ships followed, their weapons tracking the small human vessel. As they climbed, the aliens formed a cone shape below them, all converging on the same target. "Now!" Bora shouted. She ejected Soul's Pride's main power core, and the glowing device fell toward the center of the alien formation. Every Devourer ship immediately targeted it with their energy-draining weapons, trying to absorb its power. The feedback explosion lit up space like a small star. The energy weapons that were designed to drain power suddenly had more energy flowing into them than they could handle. Alien ships writhed in space as their own weapons overloaded and exploded from within. "It worked!" Dr. Kickstall shouted, his crystal body flashing with excitement. 7 of the enemy ships were completely destroyed, and another dozen were badly damaged. But that still left more than 20 functional vessels, and Soul's Pride was now running on emergency power. "We bought ourselves some time," Taeho said. "But we are not out of this yet." That was when the second miracle happened. "Captain," Commander Velthari called from the cargo hold. "I am getting a message on the emergency channel. There are ships coming." "What kind of ships?" "Confederation Navy, a full battle group." Taeho checked his scanners and saw them approaching. 30 sleek warships painted in the blue and silver of the Galactic Confederation. They were still hours away, but they were coming fast. "Soul's Pride, this is Admiral Kethron aboard CNS Harmony," came a new voice over the radio. "We received your distress signal. What is your status?" "We have 300 rescued civilians and are currently being chased by very angry aliens," Taeho replied. "Understood. Continue evasive action. We will be there in 2 hours. 2 hours. Soul's Pride had to survive for 2 more hours against a fleet of alien ships while carrying far too many passengers and running on backup power. I do not think we can make it, Dongsu said quietly. Then we better prove you wrong, Taeho replied. What followed were the longest 2 hours in the lives of everyone aboard Soul's Pride. Taeho flew the damaged ship through impossible maneuvers, using every trick he had learned in 20 years of space combat. Bora kept the failing systems working through pure stubbornness and creative engineering. Dongsu took care of injured passengers while being thrown around like everyone else. The aliens in the cargo hold learned what it meant to be on a human ship in combat. They were scared, injured, and uncomfortable, but they were alive. And slowly they began to understand why other species respected and feared humans. How do you do this? Dr. Kixtal asked Dongsu during a brief calm moment. How do you stay calm when everything is trying to kill you? Practice, Dongsu replied. On Earth, everything is trying to kill you from the day you are born. You learn to deal with it. That sounds terrible. It makes you strong. When the Confederation Navy finally arrived, Soul's Pride was barely flying. One engine was completely dead, life support was failing, and the hull had more holes than solid metal. But the ship was still moving, and everyone aboard was still alive. The battle between the Navy and the Devourer fleet was brief but decisive. The alien ships were powerful, but they were designed to prey on helpless research stations and civilian vessels. Against trained military forces, they were outmatched. Soul's Pride, this is Admiral Kethron. You are clear to dock with our medical ship. Well done. As Soul's Pride limped toward the safety of the Confederation fleet, Commander Velthari made her way to the bridge. Her blue skin was pale from stress and her forearms were shaking from exhaustion. Captain Taeho, she said formally, on behalf of everyone you saved today, I thank you. You risked everything for people you had never met. Taeho looked uncomfortable with the gratitude. We just did what needed doing. No, Velthari said. You did what most beings would consider impossible. You took on a fleet of enemy ships in a cargo vessel and won. We had help. You had each other. And that, I think, is what makes humans so dangerous to their enemies and so valuable to their friends. In the cargo hold, 300 aliens from 12 different species talked quietly among themselves. They had heard stories about humans before, but now they had experienced human determination firsthand. They had seen what happened when humans decided that something was worth fighting for. The galaxy's opinion of humanity was about to change, and it was going to change because 3 people in an old cargo ship had decided that a distress call was worth answering. Soul's Pride docked with the medical ship, and the rescued aliens began to disembark. As they left, many of them stopped to thank the human crew personally. Will we see you again? Dr. Kixtal asked. Probably, Taeho said. The galaxy is a big place, but it is not that big. As the last of the passengers left Soul's Pride, Bora looked around at the damaged ship. So what now? She asked. Now we fix the ship and find another job, Taeho replied. Any particular kind of job? Taeho smiled. The kind that needs doing, and in the distance, Admiral Kethron was already writing a report that would change everything. 3 months after the rescue at Nexus Prime, Captain Taeho stood on the bridge of a ship he barely recognized. Soul's Pride had been completely rebuilt by the Confederation Navy, and it was no longer just a cargo vessel. The old ship now had military-grade shields, proper weapon systems, and engines that could push it faster than anything in its class. But the most important change was not to the ship. It was to the crew. What had started as 3 humans in an old cargo hauler had become something much bigger. Captain, we are getting another priority distress call, announced Lieutenant Hai-Jin from the communications station. She was young, smart, and had volunteered to serve under Taeho after hearing about the Nexus Prime rescue. The Confederation Navy had offered her a position on any ship she wanted, but she chose to stay with the humans who were crazy enough to fly into impossible situations. What kind of distress call? Taeho asked. Mining colony in the Vega system. They are under attack by raiders. Colony defense forces are overwhelmed. Taeho looked around his bridge, which was now staffed by a mixed crew of humans and aliens. Bora was still his chief engineer, but she now had a team of 12 working under her. Dong-Su was still the ship's doctor, but he had trained 6 alien medics in human-style emergency medicine. "How long to get there?" Tae-ho asked. 4 hours. "At maximum speed," replied Navigator Junho, a human who had served on Confederation ships for 10 years before requesting a transfer to Sol's Pride. "Set course and engage. Send word to the other ships in our group." Sol's Pride was no longer alone. After the Nexus Prime incident, the Confederation had created the Special Rescue Operations Division, and Tae-ho found himself in charge of 12 ships crewed by humans and aliens who specialized in impossible rescues. The other ships in the group were similar to Sol's Pride. Fast, tough, and crewed by people who did not know when to quit. Each ship had a mixed crew, with humans teaching alien crewmates how to think like Deathworlders, and aliens teaching humans about advanced technology and galactic politics. "Captain," Commander Velthari said, entering the bridge. After the rescue, she had requested a transfer from research to active duty, and the Confederation had assigned her to Tae-ho's unit as a liaison officer. "I have been studying the situation at the mining colony. The raiders appear to be using military-grade equipment. Pirates with military ships? Worse. These appear to be former Confederation Navy vessels that were supposed to be decommissioned. Someone has been selling them to criminal organizations." This was the kind of problem that the Special Rescue Operations Division had been created to handle. When situations were too dangerous for regular military forces, when civilian lives were at risk, and when someone needed to do something crazy to save the day, they sent the humans and their allies. "Any idea how many ships we are facing?" Tae-ho asked. "Intelligence suggests 8 to 12 vessels, plus ground forces that have already landed on the colony." Dr. Kixtal walked onto the bridge, his crystal body reflecting the lights from the control panels. After Nexus Prime, he had also requested a transfer to active duty, becoming the group's science officer. His people had been surprised by his decision. Zephyrians usually avoided dangerous situations, but Kixtal said he had learned something important from the humans about taking risks when the cause was right. "I have been analyzing the colony's layout," Kixtal said. "The main settlement is built into a mountain which provides natural protection. But the mining equipment is outside, and that is where most of the colonists work. So the raiders are probably holding the workers hostage to force the colony to surrender," Tae-ho concluded. "That would be my assessment." Tae-ho studied the tactical display. 8 to 12 enemy ships against his group of 12 vessels sounded like fair odds, but fair odds were not what humans preferred. They liked overwhelming odds in their favor, or overwhelming odds against them. Fair odds were boring. "Heejin, open a channel to all ships in the group." "Channel open, Captain." "All ships, this is Sol's Pride. We have a hostage situation at the mining colony. The enemy has military hardware and ground forces. We are going in fast and loud. Remember, our job is to save civilians, not to fight fair. Sol's Pride out." The response came back from all 11 other ships. "Copy that, Sol's Pride." The journey to the Vega system took 4 hours, and Tae-ho used the time to plan their approach with his officers. The strategy was typically human, aggressive, risky, and designed to give the enemy no time to think. "We hit them from multiple directions at once," Tae-ho explained to the assembled officers. "Half our ships engage their fleet while the other half land troops to rescue the hostages. We move fast, hit hard, and get out before they can organize a proper response." "What if they threaten to kill the hostages?" asked Commander Velthari. "Then we make sure they do not get the chance," Dong-Su replied. He was now in charge of all ground operations for the unit, and his teams had become legendary for getting civilians out of impossible situations. When they arrived at the Vega system, they found the situation was worse than expected. The raider fleet was not just attacking the colony. They were systematically stripping it of everything valuable while holding the workers as slaves. "This is not a raid," observed Kixtal. "This is organized piracy on a massive scale." "Then we shut it down," Tae-ho said simply. The battle that followed became another story that spread throughout the galaxy. Sol's Pride and her sister ships hit the raider fleet like a hammer, using tactics that regular military forces would have considered insane. Human ships rammed enemy vessels, used their own hulls as shields to protect landing craft, and fought with a ferocity that shocked even experienced pirates. On the ground, Dongsu's rescue teams moved through the colony like ghosts, appearing wherever civilians needed help and disappearing before the raiders could mount organized resistance. They had learned from the humans that the best way to fight superior numbers was to never fight fair, never fight where the enemy expected, and never stop moving. The entire operation took less than 6 hours. When it was over, the mining colony was free. All the civilians were safe, and 8 raider ships had been destroyed or captured. The remaining pirates fled the system rather than continue fighting humans who seemed to enjoy battle more than they did. Soul's pride. This is Colony Administrator Park Min-seo. Came the call from the surface. All our people are safe. We cannot thank you enough. Just doing our job, Taeho replied. But as he said it, he realized that it had become his job. The Confederation Navy had officially appointed him Admiral of the Special Rescue Operations Division, with authority to take on missions that other forces could not handle. Admiral, Commander Velthari said, using his new title, we are receiving priority messages from Confederation Command. There are 12 more situations that require our attention. Taeho looked at the list of missions: hostage situations, impossible rescues, battles against overwhelming odds. A year ago, he had been a simple cargo captain trying to stay out of trouble. Now he was leading a fleet of ships crewed by beings who had learned to think like humans when the situation required it. Pick the 3 most urgent ones, he said. We will handle those first. Which 3? Velthari asked. The ones where people will die if we do not get there in time. This was how humans prioritized missions, not based on politics or resources or strategic importance, but based on who needed help the most. As Soul's Pride and her sister ships prepared for their next mission, Taeho reflected on how much had changed since that day when they had answered a simple distress call. The galaxy had learned that humans were not just violent Deathworlders. They were violent Deathworlders who used their violence to protect others. Admiral, Bora said, joining him on the bridge. Do you ever miss the simple days when we just moved cargo? Taeho thought about it. Sometimes. But people needed help, and we were the ones who could provide it. And now? Now, more people need help, and we have more ships to provide it with. Dr. Kickstall approached them, his crystal body glowing with satisfaction. Admiral, I have been thinking about what we do here. We take impossible situations and make them possible through stubborn determination and creative violence. That sounds about right. My people have a word for beings who do such things. We call them legends. Taeho was uncomfortable with the praise, but he had learned to accept it. The crews under his command needed to believe that impossible missions were just difficult missions with higher stakes. We are not legends, he said. We are just people doing jobs that need doing. Perhaps, Kickstall replied, but the galaxy disagrees with you. He was right. Throughout known space, the story of Soul's Pride and the rescue of Nexus Prime had become a legend. But more importantly, it had become an inspiration. Other species were learning from human examples, taking on challenges they would have avoided before, protecting people they would have abandoned. The Confederation Navy had started training programs based on human tactics. Medical schools were teaching emergency procedures developed by Dongsu and his teams. Engineering programs studied Bora's improvised solutions to impossible problems. Admiral, Hyojin announced, we have another priority call. Research vessel missing in hostile territory. No other ships available for rescue.